today you'll be receiving from a message full of God's power to help you become everything that God has created you to be. You know, God sent his son, Jesus, to die for you to have a life of abundance and for you to be an ambassador for him. What does that mean? That your life should represent his goodness. It's time to be about it. Tune in today's message and you'll be blessed.
He said, go ahead and, pitch that. In verse 6, he said to them, cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. So they cast the net. And now they were not able to haul it in because for such a big catch, a mass quantity of fish was in it. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it's the Lord. Because, here's the thing, and this is why backsliding is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Because while Jesus is doing all of that, he's talking to them from the shore, they didn't even recognize him. And this is why sin is so dangerous, because when you go backwards and you allow yourself to go backwards because things are hard, when you give into that discouragement and you slide back, or you let things slip, or you stop coming to church, or you stop listening to the word, or you allow yourself to move away from that, it can be harder to recognize God the next time he shows up. Don't play with that. Then the disciple said to the love that Jesus loved, said, it is the Lord. Simon Peter, hearing him say that it was the Lord, he girded up his garments. In other words, he took off his stuff, he changed, and he jumped into the sea. Verse 8, and the other disciples came in a small boat, for they were not far from shore, only some 100 yards away, dragging the net full of fish. Now, I want to point out, obviously, in telling this story, to some degree, Peter could be like, man, you kind of dogging me out here, highlighting all the stuff I did wrong. But let me highlight what he did right here. Is when Peter recognized that it was Jesus, everybody else got in a small boat to, methodically get back to shore. But Peter stripped off that fisherman's garment, which is his past, and everything else, that the smell, the stench. And he said, I'm not even going to wait for everybody. I'm not even going to be dignified about this thing. He dove in the water and he swam back to shore. And I promise you, they arrived around the same time. So that means that you can see that Peter had to be swimming pretty frantically to get back to the shore at the same time as the boat. And that's one of the things, when things are hard, don't dive in the water of despair. Dive in the water of the grace of God, and you do everything you can to get there as fast as you can. Sometimes you got to, listen, especially when you're dealing with grief, sometimes you got to take it off. You got to throw it. How can I take it? I just can't do it. I'm not built for this. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. He will not allow you to be tempted. I didn't say he won't give you more than you can bear. He will not allow you to be tempted with something that is more than you can bear. If you are still here and you are still breathing, you have the ability to throw off those old garments, that garment of lack, that garment of discouragement, that garment of low self-esteem, that garment of pain, that garment of bitterness. You are able to take that off yourself and you dive in that water. Now, you may not be pretty about it. You may not have a pretty breaststroke, but if you got to go on your back, if you got a doggy paddle, if you got to do whatever you got to do, you get there. And the other disciples came in a small boat, for they were not far from shore and only 100 yards away, dragging the net full of fish. When they got out on land, the beach, they saw a fire of coals there and fish lying on it, cooking, and bread. And Jesus said to them, bring some of the fish which you have just caught. So now granted, the Lord gave me the message to preach to you and the world through this internet today. And notice what he wants me to point out to you, how good he is. When things are hard, how good he is. When things are hard, not just because somebody did it to you, but when things are hard because it's something that you did, he's still good. He not only taught this man how to go ahead and get some fish, he blessed him with these fish. When these guys get to shore, when Peter does his frantic trying to get there quickly, when the boat is getting there, they're dragging in the fish to do it, Jesus had already prepared for them a way to eat. See, you letting the situation take you straight down to the ground. And not only has Jesus already made a way, he's also taking care of other issues you had not thought about. They said they had been fishing all night and hadn't caught anything, so they must have been hungry. So Jesus made a fire. And listen, back in the day, they didn't have lighters that just light it up and special logs that you just do this, or candles. You know, it took some work to start a fire. Have you ever seen something like Survivor? And at the end of that show, they're trying to compete against each other, making fire. This is what we're talking about. Back in the day, when you're on a beach somewhere, you got to make some fire happen. This is effort and love that Jesus took to make a preparation. And even when he got to the beach, what a welcome environment. If it was me and I was Jesus, I'd have been standing there like, get your little raggedy wet self up here. What you gonna say to me? But that's not how Jesus approached them. He made it a general way for you to come back. Let me make you comfortable. Let me, set a fire. And he knew what he was going to do, because if Peter and them had no fish, why set a fire for them to be able to cook some fish? Jesus already knew what they did not know, which is that they were capable of doing exactly what they were trying to do. And so he opened the way and set that anointing for them to be able to get those fish, and then it set up another way for them to actually benefit from those fish. You got to remember how good he is. Sometimes we get caught up in just the day-to-day interaction because there's not a whole lot of people who operate on that level of love. But his ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Jesus said unto them, verse 10, bring some of the fish which you have just caught. So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net to land, full of large fish. Full of large fish. Full. And again, I have to harp on it. I have to. These weren't some tiny, messed around, broke down fish. These are large fish. Fish don't just get large overnight. Come on, somebody. Those fish have been feeding for some time. Long before Peter even knew he was going fishing in that lake. And they had to be in the right place, in the right location, on the right side of the boat, so when they obeyed Jesus supernaturally, and if they weren't there, he got them there supernaturally. What am I saying to you? I'm going to say this again. And again, this is for those of you going through a hard time, when times are rough. This is what you got to remind yourself, like, hey. When the Bible talks about all things work for the good, for those who are called according to the power that worketh in them, for those of us who are walking that, that means that steps that was ordered by the Lord started happening in place long before your mother even met your father. There had to be we got some trifling fish in my house. I cannot stand my husband is all in the fish tanks. And we got all these fish, and they are the most evilest things ever. Because we got two little fish that are quite fond of each other, and I don't even know how it happens, but they keep having babies. And this big old black fish, he be over there fighting with the mommy and daddy, trying to eat them fish. Constantly. Don't write me no letters about separating the fish. We did it. This is just the point. Can't stand those fish. Can't stand them at all. But I thought it was interesting watching the mother and father go through this process. We know when they're going to have a baby. They dig a cave. Like right now, we think the mom is about to have a baby because they dig in a cave, and the dad is like fighting everybody from this one area that they're going to lay all these fish eggs. So I'm like, well, look at this. This is a process. So we're just waiting till those fish are born so that we can move them out and put them into another tank so they'll survive. Well, Somebody's fishes had to get together, however I'm sorry, I forgot science, all my teachers, I don't remember. But some fishes had to find each other and do some stuff for fish. There's a whole process that produces fish. God will use any and everything that he created to get to you what's needed. And what Peter needed, because he was down on himself, was a show of love.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I want to invite you to subscribe as well as visit our website at michelleferguson.org. We have some materials there that can help you as you walk through life, live the life that God created for you. As always, I'm Michelle Ferguson, helping you to discover, develop, and celebrate who God has created you to be. See you next time.